The wound in her side would not close. For weeks, the young woman had pressed cloth against it, changed bandages in secret, prayed that no one would notice the blood seeping through her white Dominican habit. But this was no ordinary wound. No blade had pierced her flesh. No accident had torn her skin. This wound came from somewhere else entirely. "He took my heart," she whispered to her confessor, Father Raymond of Capua, her hands trembling as she pulled back the fabric. "Christ opened my side and took my heart. I felt it leave my body. I am walking this earth without the heart I was born with." Father Raymond stared at the wound, fresh and real, and felt his own certainty about the nature of reality begin to crack. He had been a rational man, educated in theology and philosophy. He knew the difference between metaphor and truth, between spiritual language and physical fact. But Catherine of Siena was showing him something that existed in both worlds at once. Something impossible, something undeniable. This is the story of a woman who lived between heaven and earth, who spoke with Christ as intimately as a bride speaks with her beloved, who changed the destiny of the Church itself, and whose mystical experiences were so profound, so physically manifested, that even skeptics could not explain them away. This is the story of the exchange of hearts. Siena, Italy. The year is 1347. The world is dying. The Black Death is sweeping across Europe like the hand of God himself, turning prosperous cities into graveyards, reducing families to corpses piled in streets. 1 in 3 Europeans will be dead within 5 years. Faith is tested. Despair is everywhere. Into this world of death and chaos, a child is born. The 24th child of Jacopo and Lapa Benincasa. A wool dyer and his wife, common people, hardworking, faithful. They name her Catherine. From the very beginning, she is different. At age 6, she has her first vision. She's walking home with her brother, turning a corner near the church of San Domenico, when suddenly the sky opens. She stops, frozen in place, her eyes fixed on something her brother cannot see. Above the church, suspended in radiant light, she sees Christ, not as a distant king on a throne, but present, immediate, looking directly at her. He is dressed in papal robes, wearing the sacred vestments, and beside him stand Saints Peter, Paul, and John the Evangelist. Christ raises his hand in blessing, and Catherine, 6 years old, feels her soul pulled upward, feels the world around her fade to nothing, feels herself standing in the presence of eternal love itself. Her brother tugs at her sleeve. "Catherine? Catherine," but she cannot respond. She is somewhere else, experiencing something that has no words in any human language. When she finally returns to herself, when the vision fades and the ordinary streets of Siena come back into focus, everything has changed. The child who walks home that evening is not the same child who left that morning. From that moment, Catherine knows with absolute certainty that she belongs to Christ. Not metaphorically, not as a pious wish, but actually completely irrevocably. Her mother, Lapa, has other plans. "You will marry," Lapa insists. Catherine is 12 now, the age when arrangements are made, when girls become wives, when family alliances are forged. Lapa has already picked out a suitable young man. The negotiations have begun. Catherine refuses. The battles that follow are legendary in her household. Lapa tries everything: persuasion, tears, anger, punishment. She takes away Catherine's private room, forces her to work as a servant to the family, hoping to break her will through exhaustion. Catherine responds by cutting off her long blonde hair, the symbol of marriageable beauty. The message is clear: I am not available. I have already given myself to a spouse, she tells her bewildered family. One who will never leave me, never die, never fail. I belong to Christ. At age 16, she takes the habit of the Third Order of St. Dominic. She seals herself in a small room in her family's house and begins 3 years of nearly complete solitude. 3 years of silence. 3 years of prayer. 3 years of preparation for what is coming. What happens in that room would change everything. In the darkness of her cell, Catherine discovers that solitude is not peaceful. The demons come almost immediately. Not metaphorical demons, not temptations of thought, but visible, audible, tangible manifestations of evil that assault her day and night. She will later describe them to Father Raymond in detail that makes his blood run cold. They appear as twisted shapes, mocking her prayers, filling the small room with obscene images, whispering that her devotion is foolishness, that she has wasted her youth, that God has abandoned her to madness. The attacks are relentless. When she prays, they scream. When she fasts, they tempt her with visions of feasts. When she seeks purity, they assault her with visions of the flesh so vivid, so overwhelming, that she feels her resolve cracking. Night after night, she clings to the crucifix in her hands, weeping, begging Christ to defend her. And night after night, the demons laugh. "Where is your spouse now?" they mock. "Where is this Christ who promised to love you? He has left you alone with us." The darkest night comes in the 3rd year. Catherine is exhausted, spiritually battered, hanging by a thread. The demons surround her, pressing close, their presence suffocating. She can barely breathe. She can barely remember why she chose this path. And then light, not gradual, not subtle. The cell explodes with radiance so bright that the demons shriek and vanish like smoke in wind. And standing before her, more real than anything she has ever experienced, is Christ. Catherine falls to her knees, tears streaming. "My Lord, where were you? Why did you leave me alone in such torment?" Christ's response is gentle but firm, and it contains a truth that will echo through centuries of mystical theology. "Catherine, I was here. I was always here in your heart. These trials were necessary. You needed to know your own strength, to prove your love in darkness as well as light. I permitted the battle so that you would emerge victorious." "But why?" Catherine whispers. "Why must it be so hard?" And Christ tells her something she will never forget. "Because I am calling you not just to love me, but to save souls. And to save souls, you must first understand the depths from which they need saving. You must know darkness to lead others to light." From that moment, everything changes. The demons do not return. In their place comes a relationship with Christ so intimate, so constant, that Catherine begins to live in both worlds simultaneously. She walks through Siena, and she walks in heaven. She speaks with people, and she speaks with Christ. She eats when she can eat, and she tastes the Eucharist that becomes her only true sustenance. But the most astounding experiences are yet to come. The year is 1367. Catherine is 20 years old. It is the last day of Carnival, the feast before Lent begins. All of Siena is celebrating in the streets, music, dancing, feasting. The city pulses with life and laughter. Catherine is alone in her cell, praying. She has learned to retreat into interior silence even amidst chaos, to find the still point where Christ dwells. She is deep in contemplation when she becomes aware of a presence. Not one presence, many. The cell fills with figures radiant with light. She recognizes them immediately, though she has never seen them before. The Blessed Virgin Mary, King David with his harp, the Apostle Paul, Saint Dominic himself, founder of her order, and Saint John the Evangelist, holding in his hand a golden ring that seems to contain all the colors of creation. And in the center of them all, Christ. He is dressed as a bridegroom, and he is looking at Catherine with an expression of such love that she feels her soul might shatter from the intensity. The Virgin Mary takes Catherine's hand gently and extends it toward her son. "I present to you," Mary says, "the one who has given herself entirely to my son. Will you accept her as your bride?" Catherine cannot breathe, cannot move, cannot do anything but watch as Christ takes her hand in his. "I, your Creator and Savior," Christ says, his voice filling not just the room but Catherine's entire being. "Now take you as my bride in faith. You will keep this faith pure until we celebrate our eternal wedding in heaven." St. John steps forward and places the ring on Catherine's finger. But this is no ordinary ring, no metal forged by human hands. The band is formed from Christ's own flesh, and set in it are 4 pearls, luminous and perfect, and in the center, a diamond that Catherine recognizes with a gasp of understanding. It is fashioned from Christ's Sacred Heart itself. The ring burns on her finger, not with pain, but with a fire that seems to penetrate to her very soul. She looks down at her hand, and the ring is there, solid, real, undeniable. When the vision fades, when the saints depart and she is alone again in her cell, Catherine lifts her hand. The ring is still there. Only she can see it. Others will look at her hand and see nothing. But Catherine sees it every moment of every day for the rest of her life. A physical sign of a spiritual reality that transcends the material world. She has been claimed, marked, sealed to Christ in a bond that death itself cannot break. But with this mystical marriage comes a calling that will take her far beyond the walls of her cell. The year is 1370, 3 years after the mystical marriage. Catherine has been pulled from her solitude by Christ himself. "Your time of hidden life is over," he told her. "Now you must go out into the world. Feed the poor, heal the sick, bring souls to me." And so she does. The young woman who once refused to leave her cell now walks fearlessly into plague houses, caring for the dying when everyone else has fled. She embraces lepers. She washes the wounds of those rotting with disease. She brings food to prisoners, comfort to the condemned. Death surrounds her constantly, but death cannot touch her. She is living on something other than earthly life now. Her confessor, Father Raymond, watches her with a mixture of awe and concern. Catherine eats almost nothing, a handful of herbs, a bit of bread moistened with water. Sometimes she goes days consuming only the Eucharist. Her body is becoming transparent, almost ethereal, as if the physical world has less and less claim on her. "Father," she tells him one day, "I cannot eat. When I try to force food down, my body rejects it. I am being sustained by something else now." Raymond, trained in theology and natural philosophy, struggles to understand. Is this illness, demonic deception, or something genuinely supernatural? And then comes the day that removes all doubt. Catherine is in the chapel of Santa Cristina in Pisa, deep in prayer before a crucifix. Father Raymond is nearby, praying his office, occasionally glancing at the young woman who has become the center of such controversy in the church. He sees Catherine suddenly go rigid, her body lifted slightly off the ground. Her face transforms, ecstasy and agony blending into an expression he has never seen on any human face. Her arms extend as if being pulled by invisible hands. And then she screams, not a scream of terror, a scream of love pushed beyond human endurance. Light, Father Raymond will swear to this until his dying day. Light pours from the crucifix toward Catherine. 5 beams of crimson radiance strike her body. Both hands, both feet, and her left side. Catherine collapses. Raymond rushes to her, his hands shaking. She is unconscious, barely breathing. He examines her hands, her feet, her side. There are wounds, fresh, bleeding, the stigmata, the 5 wounds of Christ, manifested in her flesh. But Catherine has prayed for something else as well, something she will later explain to Raymond. "I begged Christ not to let the wounds show, not because I am ashamed, but because I do not want attention drawn to me. Let the pain remain, but hide the marks." And so it is. The wounds cause her constant agony. She often has to stop walking because the pain in her feet is so intense, but they are invisible to others. Only Catherine knows they are there. Only Catherine bears the constant, secret suffering of Christ's passion in her own body. But even this is not the deepest mystery. One night, while Catherine is in prayer, Christ appears to her again. This time, his message is even more astounding. "Catherine, I wish to exchange hearts with you. I will take your human heart and give you mine." She barely has time to comprehend what he means before she feels it happening. A tearing sensation in her chest. Not pain exactly, but an awareness that something fundamental is being altered. She looks down and sees Christ's hand. Actually sees it, reaching into her chest, gently removing her heart, as one might lift a precious jewel from a box. For several days, she walks through Siena without a heart. She knows it's gone. She can feel the emptiness. the physical absence. And then Christ appears again. This time, he holds something that glows with divine light. His own sacred heart, burning with infinite love. "Receive my heart," he says. "In place of your own." He places it in her chest, and Catherine feels it begin to beat. Not with her old rhythm, but with something more powerful. A pulse that seems to echo the heartbeat of all creation. Days later, when she tells Father Raymond, he listens with scholarly skepticism. A mystical experience? Yes. A spiritual metaphor? Perhaps, but physically real. "Show me," he says. Catherine pulls back her habit. There, on her left side, is a fresh wound. A surgical precision opening that could not have been self-inflicted. Raymond examines it carefully. He is trained enough in medicine to know what wounds look like. This is not a cut, not a scratch. It is as if the flesh has been opened from the inside, gently parted by skilled hands. "This is where he took my heart," Catherine says simply, "and this is where he placed his." Father Raymond, the rational theologian, can find no natural explanation. He documents everything, knowing that future generations will struggle to believe it. He includes every detail in his official account, sworn testimony that will later be examined by the Church during Catherine's canonization process. The exchange of hearts is real as the ground they stand on, as real as the choices we make every day between light and darkness. Catherine of Siena lived only 33 years, the same age as Christ when he died. In those 3 decades, she brought the papacy back to Rome from Avignon through sheer force of will and divine authority. She dictated hundreds of letters to popes, cardinals, and kings, though she could barely write herself. She brought peace to warring Italian city-states. She saved countless souls through her preaching and counsel. She experienced mystical visions that church scholars study to this day. She died in Rome in 1380, her body finally giving up under the weight of supernatural grace it had carried for so long. When they examined her body after death, witnesses reported something extraordinary. The wound in her side was still fresh, still visible, and when they tried to embalm her body, it remained incorrupt, giving off a sweet fragrance that filled the room. Her head is preserved in Siena, her thumb in Florence. Pilgrims still come to pray before these relics, to touch the glass that separates them from a woman who touched the divine. But Catherine's story is not just history. It's a mirror held up to every one of us. She was not special because she was born different. She was ordinary, the 24th child of a wool dyer, uneducated, unremarkable by worldly standards. What made her extraordinary was her response to Christ's call. She said yes, completely, irrevocably, without reservation. And because she said yes, Christ could work through her, could exchange hearts with her, could manifest his wounds in her flesh, could use her to change the course of church history. The question is not whether such things can happen. Catherine's life proves they can. The question is, are we willing to say yes? Not halfway, not with conditions, not yes, but just yes. Most of us will never experience visible stigmata. Most of us will never have our hearts physically exchanged. But the spiritual reality that Catherine's experiences point to is available to every baptized soul. Christ wants to exchange hearts with you, not metaphorically. Actually, he wants to take your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh, to take your divided, distracted, lukewarm heart and give you his own, burning with love for the Father, burning with love for souls. But like Catherine, you must be willing to endure the darkness first. The demons of doubt, temptation, despair. The nights when heaven seems silent. The days when faith feels like foolishness. That's when you discover whether your yes is real. Catherine could have left her cell at any point during those 3 years of demonic assault. She could have said, "This is too hard. God must not be real. I'm going back to normal life." She didn't. She clung to Christ in the darkness, and because she did, she emerged transformed. Today, right now, Christ is calling you to the same transformation. Not to become a mystic necessarily, not to see visions or work miracles, but to give him everything, to let him take your heart and give you his. It starts with confession. with honesty about where you've been holding back, where you've been saying yes, but instead of just yes, continues in the Eucharist. That same Christ who appeared to Catherine, who exchanged hearts with her, who placed the ring of divine marriage on her finger. He is present, physically, truly, substantially, in every tabernacle in every Catholic church in the world. He is waiting for you, right now, the same way he waited for Catherine in her cell in Siena 600 years ago. Catherine of Siena once wrote to a struggling priest, "Do not be afraid. God is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be willing." That's the message of her life. That's the meaning of the mystical marriage, the exchange of hearts, the invisible stigmata that caused her constant pain but also constant joy. Willingness, surrender, complete, radical, terrifying trust. If you're watching this and feeling the tug of something deeper, something calling you beyond comfortable Christianity into the wild territory where saints are made, that's not your imagination. That's Christ. He's showing you the wound in his side. He's offering you his heart in exchange for yours. He's asking if you're willing to wear his wounds, visible or invisible, for the sake of love. Catherine said yes in a dark cell in medieval Siena. Where will you say yes? Take a moment now. Pray. Tell him honestly where you are, what you're afraid of, what you're clinging to. And then, if you can, say the words that changed Catherine's life and can change yours. "Here I am, Lord. Take my heart. Give me yours." The exchange happens in that moment, not always with visions, not always with miracles, but always with truth. And once it happens, you will never be the same. Share this story with someone who needs to know that mystical union with Christ is not ancient history. It's offered today, right now, to every soul brave enough to say yes. Pray for the courage of the saints. And remember Catherine walking through Siena with Christ's heart beating in her chest, invisible to everyone but real beyond measure. That could be you. That should be you. That, if you let it, will be you.